I'm Carmen, and my world turned upside down on a night that started with a mysterious black envelope and a cryptic challenge from my husband, Ethan. 5 years of marriage, countless shared dreams, and a love that once burned bright had faded into a hollow silence. Until that moment when everything changed. I stood in a shadowy room, heart pounding, under the weight of unseen eyes, feeling both terrified and alive in a way I hadn't in years. What was supposed to be a test of freedom became a fracture in our fragile bond, exposing secrets and desires I never dared to face. Now, as I pick up the pieces of my shattered life, I'm left with a haunting question. What did Ethan see in me that night that he can't unsee? Picture this. A quiet evening, the kind where the world seems to hold its breath, and I'm standing at the edge of my kitchen, staring at a chipped coffee mug that's seen better days. It's not just any mug. It's the one Ethan gave me on our first anniversary, a clumsy little thing with "Forever" scrawled across it in his uneven handwriting. I'm Carmen, 27 years old, and that mug is a relic of a promise I'm not sure holds weight anymore. My life isn't a grand tragedy or a sweeping romance. It's a slow unraveling, thread by thread, and I'm caught in the middle, trying to figure out which strand to pull next. I've been married to Ethan for 5 years now. 5 years of shared mornings, whispered secrets, and nights where the silence between us grew heavier than any words could. He's a good man, or at least, I've always told myself he is. Tall, with hands that used to feel like safety when they held mine, and eyes that once looked at me like I was the only thing in the world worth seeing. But lately, those eyes seem to look past me, through me, to some place I can't reach. We're still here, in this small house on the edge of town, with its creaky floors and peeling wallpaper, but it feels like we're living in parallel, two ghosts haunting the same space, brushing by each other without ever really touching. I wasn't always this way, you know. At 22, when we got married, I was full of fire, full of dreams that felt so close I could taste them. I wanted to build something with Ethan, a life that was ours, brick by brick. I'd lie awake at night, imagining our future, kids maybe, or a little shop we'd run together, something small but meaningful. He'd laugh at my wild ideas, pull me close, and we'd lose ourselves in each other, tangled up in sheets and promises. Those moments, they were intense, a kind of heat that burned away doubt, leaving nothing but raw connection. We'd explore every inch of each other, mapping out territories of skin and breath, a silent language only we understood. Even now, thinking about it, there's a pull in my chest, a memory of something fierce and untamed that we've somehow misplaced. But time has a way of dulling edges. Work took over. Ethan's long hours at the factory, my endless shifts at the diner, both of us too tired to do more than collapse at the end of the day. The dreams I had started to feel like childish fantasies, and the fire between us simmered down to barely a flicker. We still share a bed, but it's more out of habit than desire. Sometimes, I'll catch him staring out the window, his jaw tight. And I wonder what he's thinking, what he's hiding behind that quiet. I wonder if he's wondering the same about me. There's a distance now, a chasm that's grown wider with every passing day. I'm still standing there, lost in thought, when I hear the front door creak open. It's Ethan, coming home later than usual, his boots heavy on the worn wooden floor. I turn to face him, and something about the way he carries himself tonight stops me cold. There's a tension in his shoulders, a hard set to his jaw, like he's bracing for a storm only he can see. His dark hair is slightly mussed, as if he's run his hands through it one too many times, and those hazel eyes of his, usually so guarded, flicker with something I can't quite read. Is it determination? Anger? Or something deeper? Something I'm not sure I want to uncover? He doesn't say a word at first, just walks past me to the kitchen counter and drops a black envelope there with a deliberate thud. I catch a glimpse of gold lettering embossed on the front, elegant and out of place in our modest little space. My curiosity spikes, but before I can ask, he turns to me, his voice low and edged with something sharp, almost ironic. "We're going out tomorrow night. A private event. I want to see how you act when given freedom." The way he says it, that word, freedom, feels like a challenge, a test I didn't sign up for. My stomach twists into a knot, a mix of unease and confusion. What does he mean by that? What kind of game is he playing? I step closer, trying to catch his gaze, to understand. What kind of event? Where are we going? Who's going to be there? My questions tumble out, each one more desperate than the last, but he just waves a hand, dismissive, like I'm a child asking for too much. "You'll see. Just dress nice." That's all he gives me before he turns away, heading for the bedroom without another word. I'm left standing there, staring at that mysterious envelope, my mind racing with possibilities, none of them comforting. What is this event? Why is he being so cryptic? And why does it feel like there's a weight behind his words, something heavy and unspoken? The next day drags on, each hour stretching longer than the last. I'm a bundle of nerves, pacing through our small house, unable to focus on anything. I try to distract myself with chores, wiping down counters that are already clean, folding laundry that doesn't need folding. But my thoughts keep circling back to Ethan's words, to that black envelope still sitting on the counter like a silent threat. By late afternoon, I'm standing in front of my closet, pulling out a sleek black dress I haven't worn in years. I slip it on, the fabric hugging my curves in a way that feels both foreign and familiar, like I'm stepping into a version of myself I've forgotten. I catch my reflection in the mirror, my dark hair falling in loose waves, my eyes wide with uncertainty, and I wonder why I'm standing there in that black dress, the fabric clinging to me like a second skin, when Ethan finally emerges from the bedroom. He's dressed sharper than I've seen in years, in a dark suit that makes him look like a stranger, someone powerful and untouchable. His hazel eyes sweep over me, lingering just long enough to make my pulse jump, but he doesn't say a word about how I look. Instead, he grabs the black envelope from the counter and nods toward the door. "Let's go, Carmen. Don't keep them waiting." His voice is clipped, almost cold, and I feel a shiver crawl down my spine as I follow him out into the night. The drive is silent, the kind of silence that presses against you, heavy and suffocating. I steal glances at him, trying to read his expression, but his face is a mask, unyielding. We pull up to a nondescript building on the outskirts of town, all concrete and tinted windows, the kind of place you'd drive past without a second thought. My stomach churns as we step out of the car, the air cool against my bare shoulders. Ethan leads me through a side entrance, down a dimly lit hallway that smells faintly of old wood and something metallic I can't place. My heels click against the floor, the sound echoing in the stillness, and I feel like I'm walking into something I can't turn back from. We reach a heavy door at the end of the hall, and Ethan pauses, his hand on the handle. He looks at me then, really looks at me, and for a split second, I see something flicker in his eyes. Uncertainty, maybe, or regret. But it's gone as quickly as it came, and he pushes the door open without a word. I step inside, and the space that greets me steals the breath from my lungs. It's a cavernous room, vast and shadowy, the walls disappearing into darkness. The only light comes from a single fixture hanging low in the center, casting a harsh glow over a lone wooden chair that sits there like a throne, or a trap. The air feels thick, charged with something I can't name, and I feel the weight of unseen eyes on me. Before I can process it, movement catches my attention. From the edges of the room, 5 men step forward, emerging from the shadows like ghosts. They're older, late 40s to 50s, each carrying an air of quiet, unshakable confidence. I take them in, every detail searing into my mind. One has salt and pepper hair, his piercing blue eyes cutting through the dim light like blades, Another bears a jagged scar across his cheek, a stark contrast to the pristine dark suit he wears. The others are just as imposing, all dressed in expensive tailored black, their faces hard and unreadable. My heart hammers in my chest as I realize I'm being studied, sized up, like prey in a den of wolves. One of them, clearly the leader, steps closer. He's tall, broad-shouldered, with a presence that fills the room. His dark eyes lock onto Ethan first, a silent exchange passing between them, before he gestures to the chair with a slow, deliberate motion. "He has to watch, until the end," he says, his voice low and commanding, each word dripping with intent. I flinch, my breath catching, but Ethan doesn't hesitate. He walks to the chair and sits, his posture rigid, his face a mask of stoicism. I'm frozen, my mind racing, unable to tear my eyes away as he looks at me, his gaze piercing through the haze of my fear. "If you're capable of this, do it. But I need to see," he says, his voice steady but laced with something raw, something that cuts me deeper than I expected. His words hang in the air, a challenge I don't fully understand, a test I'm not sure I can pass, or if I even want to. The men turn their attention to me now, and I feel the weight of their collective gaze like a physical force. The leader approaches, his steps measured, and I tense as his hand reaches out, his fingers cold against my cheek. The touch is deliberate, almost, as the leader's cold fingers linger on my cheek, a shiver runs through me, not just from his touch but from the weight of Ethan's gaze burning into me from that chair. My legs feel like they might give out, trembling beneath me as I stand there, caught in a moment I never imagined I'd be part of. My black dress is slightly askew now, the fabric pulled taut in places it shouldn't be, and my hair, once neatly waved, hangs in disheveled strands around my face. There are faint marks on my arms, subtle reminders of where hands have gripped too tightly, where boundaries were crossed in a way that leaves a silent imprint. The air in this cavernous room feels heavier now, suffocating, as if it's pressing down on my chest, making every breath a struggle. The 5 men who orchestrated this strange, unsettling game have retreated into the shadows, their presence still felt but no longer seen, leaving just Ethan and me in this stark, illuminated center. I take a shaky step toward him, then another, until I'm close enough to see the tension etched into every line of his face. My knees buckle, and I sink to the floor before him, the cold concrete biting into my skin through the thin fabric of my dress. I look up, searching those hazel eyes I've loved for so long, desperate for any sign of understanding, any flicker of the man I married. My voice barely makes it out, a cracked whisper that seems to echo in the silence. This was about you, Ethan. I wanted you to see me again." The words hang there, fragile and raw, as tears prick at the corners of my eyes. I swallow hard, trying to steady myself, to explain what I can barely understand myself. I've felt invisible, like I'm just fading in our marriage. I needed you to look at me, to feel something, anything, even if it was anger, even if it was pain. I just couldn't stand being a ghost in our own home anymore. My hands tremble as I reach out, hovering near his knee but not daring to touch him. I can see his reaction unfolding in slow motion, each detail carving itself into my memory. His hands grip the arms of the chair so tightly that his knuckles bleach white, the strain visible in every tendon. His jaw clenches, a muscle ticking there like a countdown to something I can't predict. And those eyes, those beautiful, familiar hazel eyes, burn with an emotion I can't name. Is it rage, disgust, or something deeper, something more broken than I ever thought possible? I hold my breath, waiting for him to speak, to give me something to cling to, but when his voice finally comes, it's low and steady, a blade wrapped in velvet. "I saw, Carmen, and now I can't unsee it." Those words hit me like a physical blow, knocking the air from my lungs. A cold dread settles into my chest, spreading like ice through my veins. I open my mouth to respond, to beg for forgiveness or understanding, but nothing comes out. There's nothing left to say. Not right now. Not in this hollow space where every sound feels like it's swallowed by the darkness. He stands abruptly, the chair scraping against the floor, and without looking at me, he turns toward the door. I scramble to my feet, my legs unsteady, and follow him, the silence between us thicker than ever as we leave that suffocating room behind. The walk back through the dimly lit hallway feels endless, my heels clicking unevenly as I struggle to keep up with his determined stride. The cool night air hits me as we step outside, but it does nothing to ease the tightness in my chest. We climb into the car, and the ride home is a blur of streetlights flashing past, their glow streaking across the windshield like tears I can't shed. I glance at Ethan, his profile rigid, his hands tight on the steering wheel. He stares straight ahead, his face a stone wall, unreadable and unreachable. I lift my hand, instinctively reaching for his, craving some small connection, some sign that we're still in this together. But halfway there, I falter, my fingers curling back into. It's been a week since that night, the one that shattered everything I thought I knew about us, and the air in our apartment feels like it's made of glass, sharp, fragile, ready to cut if I make the wrong move. I'm Carmen, still reeling, still trying to piece together what's left of my world. Ethan and we've become strangers sharing the same space, passing each other like shadows in the narrow hallway. I'll catch a glimpse of him in the morning, his broad shoulders hunched over a cup of coffee he doesn't drink, his hazel eyes fixed on some distant point I can't see. I move around him, careful not to disturb the silence, setting out plates for a breakfast neither of us touches. In the evenings, I cook dinner, simple things like spaghetti or grilled chicken, hoping the smell might draw him out, might spark something, anything. But the food sits cold on the counter, untouched, as he disappears into the bedroom or out the door without a word. The silence between us isn't just quiet, it's deafening, heavier than any shouting match we've ever had. It presses down on me, fills every corner of this creaky old place until I feel like I'm drowning in it. I spend my days lost in the mundane, trying to anchor myself to something normal. I scrub the kitchen sink until my hands are raw, even though it's already spotless. I fold laundry that's been folded twice over, smoothing out wrinkles in Ethan's shirts, as if that could smooth out the mess we've made. I water the sad little plant on the windowsill, its leaves drooping like it feels the weight of this place too. Every task is a distraction, a way to avoid looking at the chasm that's opened up between us since that night. But no matter how busy I keep my hands, my mind keeps circling back to it. Those cold concrete floors, the weight of unseen eyes, the way Ethan looked at me with something I can't name. I wanted him to see me, to feel something, and he did. But what I saw in return? It's carved into me, a wound I can't stop picking at. Then, one evening, I come home from a late shift at the diner, my feet aching, my mind numb from the monotony of pouring coffee and wiping down sticky tables. The apartment is dim, the only light coming from a single bulb flickering over the kitchen counter. And there it is, a manila envelope, sitting there like a silent accusation, my name scrawled across it in Ethan's precise, familiar handwriting. My heart stumbles in my chest, a cold sweat prickling at the back of my neck as I step closer. My hands tremble as I pick it up, the paper rough against my fingers, heavier than it should be. I fumble with the clasp, my breath shallow, and when I finally open it, the contents spill out like a punch to the gut. Divorce papers, neatly stacked, already signed by him in stark black ink. Tucked on top is a small note, just one line in his tight script. You wanted the truth? Here it is. The words blur as my vision swims with tears, my breath catching in my throat like a trapped sob. My chest tightens, a vice squeezing until I can't draw air, and my knees give out beneath me. I sink to the floor, the cold tile biting into my skin, the envelope still clutched in my shaking hands. My mind reels, a flood of memories crashing over me like a tidal wave. I see us at 13, sneaking behind the school bleachers for our first kiss, his shy smile, and the way my heart raced like I'd run a mile. I see our wedding at 22, in that tiny church on the edge of town, wildflowers woven into my hair, his hands steady as he slipped the ring onto my finger. I hear him humming off-key in the shower, a silly habit that always made me laugh, even on the worst days. Every moment, every laugh, every quiet night spent tangled up in each other, it all rushes back, vivid and aching, a reminder of what we were before we became this. I realize, sitting there on the kitchen floor, that a month has passed since that devastating moment when Ethan walked out for good, leaving behind nothing but those cold, final papers and a void I can't seem to fill. I'm still here, in this apartment that once felt like ours, surrounded by echoes of a life we built together. Every corner of this place holds a memory, a ghost of him that I can't escape no matter how hard I try. I wander into the kitchen, and there's his favorite coffee mug, still sitting in the cupboard, a sturdy ceramic thing with a faded logo from some hardware store he loved. I haven't touched it since he left, but I can't bring myself to pack it away either. It just sits there, a silent reminder of mornings when he'd sip from it, half asleep, mumbling about his day before it even started. In the bedroom, on the nightstand, there's a half-read book, its pages yellowed and dog-eared, a thriller he'd been working through. I remember how he'd read a chapter aloud to me sometimes, his voice low and steady, pulling me into the story until I forgot the world outside. And in the living room, the couch still bears the indent where he used to sit, right in the middle, his arms slung over the back like he owned the space. I sit there sometimes, in that hollowed-out spot, trying to feel close to him again. But it just feels empty now, like I'm chasing a shadow that's long gone. I've had a lot of time to think about what happened that night at the club, the moment that broke us beyond repair. And here's the thing, I don't fully regret it, not entirely. In that charged, reckless instant, under the weight of those strangers' gazes, and the intensity of pushing boundaries I never thought I'd cross, I felt seen, alive. It was a rush I hadn't felt in years, a spark that lit up the numbness I'd been drowning in. I know it was a betrayal, a line I stepped over with full awareness, but it came from a place of desperation, a need to feel something real, even if it was wrong. What I do regret, though, is that Ethan couldn't see past the act itself. He couldn't look into the raw, aching void behind it, the part of me that was screaming for him to notice I was slipping away. I wish he could have understood that it wasn't about them. It was about us. About me needing him to fight for me, to pull me back before I fell too far. But he didn't. He saw, and he walked away, and now I'm left with the pieces of what we were, trying to figure out if they're worth salvaging or if I should just let them go. I've been trying to move forward, to claw my way out of this fog of loss and guilt. I started therapy a couple of weeks ago, sitting in a quiet office with a woman who listens more than she speaks. I'm unpacking it all, the slow fade of our marriage, the choices I made, why I felt the need to go to such extremes just to feel something. It's messy, peeling back layers of myself I've ignored for too long, but it's a start. I've also picked up painting again, a passion I let slip away after we got married, when life became more about survival than joy. I set up an easel in the corner of the living room, near the window where the light spills in just right, and I pour everything onto the canvas, my pain, my anger, the confusion that churns inside me like a storm. The strokes are bold, chaotic, all deep reds and jagged blacks, a mirror to the turmoil I can't put into words. It's not pretty, but it's mine. And it's the first time in a long while that I've felt like I'm creating something instead of just existing through the wreckage. But even as I try to rebuild, there's a final sting that keeps me up at night. Ethan hasn't reached out, not once since he left. No calls, no texts, not even a note to check if I'm okay. All communication comes through a lawyer now, a cold, "Don't forget to subscribe, like, and comment if you enjoyed this story. This will help us create more engaging stories for you."